Shalom, Rabbi Danielle Upbin here, and I am thrilled to continue the series of mindful moments, meditations, and discussion and study of the book of Psalms. Today we'll be exploring Psalm 97, which is part of the series of Psalms in the Friday night liturgy of Kabbalat Shabbat, the series of Psalms that we use to welcome the Sabbath on Friday nights. So today we'll be focusing on Psalm 97, which opens once again with the idea of the resplendence of God's majesty. But we'll be taking a deep dive into two ideas today. One is kind of the illumination of knowledge, just those brief glimmers that we are privy to receive when we're so grateful for them, for a little bit of direction, a little bit of light. And then we'll be looking at the last line of the psalm, which focuses on the hidden light that is stored for the righteous and honorable, praying with great blessing and anticipation that we too can be among the righteous to perceive that tremendous light. Without further ado, let's take a look at Psalm 97. Share the screen here so we can look at it together. And this source sheet is available on Safaria. So the psalm opens, Adonai malach tagel haaretz, yismechu im rabim, anan rafel svivav, tzedek umishpat bechon kiso. Again, that the divine is king. Let us all exalt all of creation, all of the creating world, joining in the choir of celebration of the divine. And so let's take a look at the breakdown of Psalm 97. Then we'll take a deep dive into two ideas, and then we'll bring those ideas into a meditation, a guided meditation. So the psalm opens with this description of sovereignty of the divine, saying that Adonai Malach, that God is reigning, that there is order in the universe. If we fail to see it, we fail to see it. But the psalm is an invitation to know that inherent in the creation of the fabric of the universe is balance, justice, and truth. Though a thick cloud of darkness may be descending upon us here and there, right? To know that we can see through that darkness, not with the eye, perhaps, but with the internal eye. Also, it might be of use to think about the presence of God in biblical times. In the wandering of the desert was the descending of a cloud, right? That was the description of the presence of God, known among the camp. So just because there's thick cloud and darkness doesn't mean that that's an obscuring. It could be understanding that the truth, the light, the balance of justice is held within that cloud. Maybe it's not perceptible to us at every moment, but to maintain with the inner eye that clear sight of all that is true, just, and holy, and upright, and sacred, even when things feel uncertain and chaotic. The psalm reminds us that there is a through line that is clear and compassionate, that cuts right through the confusion. The psalm continues with this imagery of lightning and fire. Now, the idea here can help us to understand that not just the fires that consume around us in the natural world. Of course, that's destructive and scary, as we've seen recently with the California fires in LA. So scary, so just completely disruptive and annihilating. But there's another kind of fire that this psalm directs us to, which is this kind of divine fire that's a force that can transform anything in its path. It consumes what's false and it makes room for what is true, purifying and illuminating, a fire that can bring in its wake clarity and understanding. And it's that kind of divine fire, not the consuming earthly fire, but this divine fire that can bring us into a state of illumination. The psalm continues. It says that, those who worship false idols will be put to shame. Yeah, okay. So in the ancient minds, they're definitely talking about real idols. Don't worship false idols. We know that from the Ten Commandments. But how can we understand this idea in our own lives? If we're, don't need to be convinced of the one God, of the unity of all, what's in it for us? Well, we can ask ourselves, what are the idols in our lives? What are the things or beliefs that distract us from living in alignment of truth and integrity? The psalm assures us that there's a force in the universe that does allow for strength and clarity. Okay. And finally, the last two verses that urge us to turn away from evil and to turn toward rejoicing in the guidance that we have. Right? We can't avoid uh, difficulty or adversity, but if we align ourselves with justice, light, and truth, that illumination, right? We are going to have the power and the resource we need to confront adversity and to rise up and not crumble. And then the psalm ends on this beautiful high note. Or zarua latzadik ulishre lev simcha, and that is down here. Simchut tzadikim baronai. That's this idea that there's a hidden light stored for the righteous. There's a hidden light stored for the righteous, and those who are upright in heart will rejoice in this light. So we need to figure out, get a better understanding of what is that light and how do we bring it into our own lives? How can we see it? How can we feel it? How can we gain access to that and throw our lot in with the upright of heart and the righteous? Before we do, let's take a little bit of a swirl here on this one line. He'iru berakav tevel ra'ata v'tachel haaretz, that God's lightning lights up the world and the earth is convulsed at the sight. So this is an earlier line in this Psalm 97, verse 4, which is so great. We have a teaching here from Rambam, the Guide to the Perplexed, in the introduction, where he says that Rambam compares the dilemma of one who's grappling with uncertainty and the mystery of life, compares that to the situation of a traveler who's lost their way in a stormy, dark night. So in the stormy, dark night, there are these intervals, bold lightning flashes in the darkness that for a brief moment, the traveler can access the path ahead, can catch a glimpse of the path that they must take. And similarly, right, so many of us lost in the sea of falsehood, desperately seeking a path of truth. Only on rare occasions does God kind of shine that spiritual light, and that flash of perception of truth can guide us when we find ourselves once again in the darkness. Okay, so kind of waiting waiting for those flashes of light, right? But also at the same time knowing and anticipating that they can and do and will happen in the future. The light will be joyously permanent, and we won't have to wait for it or reach for it. It will be right there. So let's talk about that light. Or zarua latzadik ulishre lev simcha. There's a light that is sown for the righteous, joy for the upright. What is that light? So there are many passages within ancient texts in the Talmud and the Midrash that describe what this light is. I'm going to pick one, the one from Babylonian Talmud Chagiga, page 12a. So here, the Talmud describes the special light that was created on the first day of creation, right? Previous to the fourth day, when we see the sun and the moon and the stars, there was this very special light, okay? That was very special, tremendous light, okay, that God created. Well, let's find out what happened to it. So in the Talmud, we learn, isn't it written that God set them, meaning the light in the firmament in the heaven? Why? We know there was evening, there was morning on the fourth day, indicating that light was created on the fourth day. But the Gemara answers, no. In accordance with Rabbi Elazar and with Rabbi Elazar, as Rabbi Elazar said, that the light that the Holy One, blessed be He, created on the first day was not the light of the sun and the moon, right? But it was a light through which Adam could observe from one end of the world to the other But when the Holy One, blessed be he, looked upon the generations of the flood and the generation of the dispersion and saw that the people were so corrupt, they were so corrupt, and that they would misuse this light for evil, God arose and concealed this light, concealed this light. But who did God conceal it from, or for whom? God concealed it for the righteous people in the future. As he said, God saw that the light was good, and good is referring to none other than the righteous. So the righteous in the future would be able to access this light, would be able to access this light. So when the light saw that it had been concealed for the righteous, the light itself rejoiced. Beautiful anthropomorphism of light. The light itself rejoiced that it would be hidden away and used for such good purpose in the future. So it didn't mind being stored away, waiting for the right time, for the right people to access this light. And that therefore it says the light for the righteous shall rejoice, or tzadikim yismach. I love that. So we'll stop the share here and let's take the next few minutes together in a guided meditation on this light, this hidden light, asking for permission to throw our lot in with the righteous, to be able to perceive this light, maybe even a glimmer of it today and tomorrow as well. If you haven't already, find a soft, gentle gaze, a seated, comfortable position. Eyes can be closed. Finding the breath, inhale through the nose. Exhale. With each inhalation and exhalation, finding a little more relaxation in the body, a little more space around the heart, relaxing shoulders away from ears, relaxing the facial muscles, or holding a gentle smile. You can take as much time as you need here to connect with the breath as we move along with our imagery, dropping your awareness into your heart center, imagining a spark of light there, a glimmer of light, the beginning of radiance deep in the well of your being. Maybe this light is familiar, maybe it's new. A divine light that's been implanted within you forever and always. And if the light is not perceptible, maybe allowing yourself to feel the light, the sensation in the heart center, and awareness that light is. And let that light continue to expand, illuminating every corner of your heart, mind, and soul. To feel its power, strength, and serenity. A light that is stored in a treasure trove in your own well of being. A light that reveals your own capacity for love, kindness, wisdom, and integrity. A treasure trove available to you to share with the world. Feel the brilliance, the power, the peace that's associated with this light. Allowing the light to fill your being and spread outwardly as far and wide as you would like to share this light today. And when you're ready, bringing that light back into the heart, back into the treasure box in which it's stored, knowing that this light is always available to you, a source of illumination, a source of clarity, a source of peace, and a source of healing. We can ask ourselves today, how might I align more deeply with the divine presence that shines within me? How might I align more deeply with the divine presence that shines within me? We can take that question into our day. So we conclude our meditation by placing hand over heart, hand over hand, to seal our practice today with a blessing of peace, calm, tranquility, illumination, wholeness, with the word shalom together 3 times. Shalom. 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 Opening eyes if they've been closed, returning to our shared space. And may you be a blessing, and may you continue to shine that divine light within you. Let us say Amen. See you next time.